Bridging the Generation podcast. I'm your host, Malak Ari, and today I have a very, very, very special guest, man. You may have seen this brother on Comedy Central. He's been on NBC. He's been on MTV, Amazon Video. I mean, you can catch him at a lot of dope comedy clubs all around the country, man. This brother got a lot of dope stuff coming out. And straight out of Philly, introducing the one, the only Monroe Martin III, man. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, yo? That was a hell of an intro.
I didn't even realize some of the stuff that was in here. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, damn, bro. I can't run off all this shit, but I'm like, damn.
Hey, take your time.
I'm like, man, he got a hell of a resume, man. This is good right here, man. See, you know, like I told you, I wore my Philly shit for this one, man. I wore my Philly shit for this one. But look, before we get started off, man, I want to say that this is how I got introduced to you. You was performing in Philly, I believe, like 2 years ago. I'm trying to think of the club. It's somewhere.
Hold on.
Okay.
If it was 2 years ago, it could only be a couple of spots. I'm trying to think.
Man, I'm trying to think. Because I went to see these rap guys, Griselda. I went to see them at the same club. And it's a lot of white cats down there in that area. It's gentrified. It been gentrified. Long story short, I seen you down there, man.
Who else was on the show?
It was you. I believe it was. What's the female? I think was my man. What's the name? Godfrey. I think Godfrey was on that one.
Oh wow! Damn,
yeah,
that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's a couple of years ago, and
that was Helium.
Helium,
right?
Helium.
Yeah.
There we go.
That was a couple of
there
years
we
ago.
go. Because I was in Philly for the weekend. I was in Philly for the weekend, man. So that's how I got hip to you, man. And I was like, man, this brother funny as hell. I was like, man, how come I never heard of this guy?
Hey, man, now you do.
Yeah. I was like, man, how come I never heard of this guy, man? So, ever since then, man, I've been tapped in, man. Been trying to follow you, see what you got going on. And I remember I was watching another podcast where I actually heard Godfrey shouting you out. He was like, man, this brother Monroe Martin is one of the dopest up and coming comedians. And I was like, damn. I said, this the same. Oh, that guy. I'm like, man, okay. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah. So let me tap more into see what this brother got going on. And like I said, man, I love the stuff that you got going on, man. I love the material, man. Very original, very unique, man. And I was surprised that you like 7 feet.
No, which one? Like 7 feet. I'm only 6'5", but if
6'5",
I'm 7
feet,
feet, I would definitely play ball. I don't think it's only two places you can be 7 feet: the circus and the basketball court. There's no other place. Like 6'5" is still like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
McDonald's, 6'5".
Okay. So I said with this interview, man. Yeah, I said right. This gonna be a conversation, man. Because I like I said, man, I've been trying to get you on the platform for a minute. I reached out to you, I believe, like 2 months ago. Things didn't, I guess you got stuff going on. I had stuff going on, but I said, man, once the opportunity presents itself, I'm not going to. I gotta seize the opportunity, man. So here you are.
Hey, man, I'm here.
Okay, so here we go. I want to start from the beginning, man. I want to start from the beginning. Like, you're originally from Philadelphia.
I'm originally from Philadelphia. I grew up there, but I lived all around Philly. So when people go, what part of Philly are you from? I'm like from the youngest, it'll be North Philly.
Gotcha.
But I grew up in foster care, so I was taken from North Philly, and then I lived all over Philadelphia, including other parts of PA.
Okay,
so I'm from Philly.
So that's what me and you.
West.
Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
I lived in West. I've lived in Frankfurt. I lived in so many different parts of Philly, even like in the suburbs.
Okay.
So,
yeah. No. See, that's a thing that me and you have in common. We both foster kids. I grew up in a foster home as myself. I was in one. I say from the age about 3 to probably about 15, 16, something like that.
Oh, did you age? So at 15, did you go back with a biological family?
Yeah, I went back to stay with my mom, and you know, a similar story. Like, you know, I'm from Washington D.C., but I've been in Southeast, I've been in North. If you're familiar with D.C., it's separated in 4 quadrants. So I've been in every part of D.C. except Southwest.
Yeah,
you know, so I was you know, just you being a foster kid, man, that was something that gravitated me towards you. And I remember you talking about some of your experiences in foster kids. So talk about that, man, because you really, you know what I'm saying, the way you shine light on the foster kid system, man. You know, it was very unique. It was different. So talk about that.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it a lot more now as an adult than I did when I was younger. Because when you're in it, you really like, what the fuck is happening? Now that I'm out of it, I'm like, oh, I can joke around with the dark stuff or whatever people call dark. I don't really like. I've come to terms with the word dark humor, but I think people mislabel dark humor for just like, someone's just giving you the reality of the situation.
Right.
And pulling the funny out of it while never really going into this what if fantasy land. So I think like I get labeled dark when I talk about that stuff. But for me, I'm like, that's what comedy is about. It's about people sharing their individual experiences to see if a larger audience will gravitate towards it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, and that's how my goal is to see if I'm funny for real, meaning like people outside of me, people who haven't really lived in the same neighborhoods and shit. Like you're from DC and you're like, yo, that shit resonated with me. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
That's really the reason I even like talk about it. Cause I'm like, a lot of people don't know what the experience is like inside of a foster home. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like right now, and also I feel like it helped me understand people a little bit more because I bounced around. Like when I say I was in like 14 homes, I was like including like group homes and stuff. So
I did that too. Yeah, I did right? Summer. I spent the summer of '96 in a good after I left foster care, I went and stayed in a group home. And then I went back and stayed with my mom.
Yeah, but so when you was in foster home and in group homes, you like shit. Like there's that whole like there's a world you live in, and now that's gone, and you gotta adjust to this new world very quickly. And I think that made me understand people a little bit more because I'm like, I've never had comfort. And when I see what people go, this is comfort, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. Like that's not comfort at all.
I don't know. Did you see this? What I used to do. Like I don't know. And I talked to other foster kids, man. But I feel like I was unique in this situation. Like I used to lie to my friends and tell them like my dad worked at UPS. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I was so ashamed. I was so not realizing that most of the kids I grew up, they didn't have fathers or. You know, they came from dysfunctional backgrounds. So, but I was so insecure about being a foster home. I would lie about shit that's nothing to even brag about. Like my dad works for UPS or he works for the post office. Like who would brag about that?
Hey, me. I was in the same shit. I was like, no one knew. I thought I kept it a good secret for like at least through high school. I think maybe like 1 or 2 people knew that went to the school that I attended. But other than the friends that I made in foster care, I don't think anyone really knew.
Oh shit.
You know what I mean? Like I even like people wouldn't even like I didn't have to worry about like my mom picking me up from school and shit like that. Only thing I went to the same high school. So the only thing they ever asked is why do I choose a different way every year. Every year they're like, wait, I thought you got on the C bus. Why are you on the 18? Wait, they like lost it. Like, I'm like, no, I'm in an after school program. Oh, what? That was it. That was the only thing.
Crazy. That's crazy. Now you went to Martin Luther King High school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, because I remember watching the special, man, and I'm paraphrasing it, but it sounded a little bit like East Side High.
Oh yeah, man, I love that damn school. That school taught me how to use fun, because like, I don't know how the hell I got through that school, but I always felt like I was like funny, decently. Like, I just said goofy shit every once in a while, but it wasn't as bad as people made it seem. You know what I mean? Like,
now, who's some of the alumni that came out? Because one thing about Philadelphia, man, all the schools, you know, you guys got like a lot of famous alumni that come out of a lot of the schools.
King? I don't really know. I don't think we have any that went to King. I think like a lot of our famous people went to, like, with athletes. What you got?
I'm talking about period. Like,
yeah, well, period. I don't know. Like, that school, I don't even know. I'm being honest. That school, yeah.
Okay.
Shit. Hopefully me. No, not my school. But, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that school wasn't that bad. It was bad. It's bad in retrospect, but when you're there, you contributing to how terrible it is, and you're like, this is fun. You're like, yo, I'm failing.
I'm part of the problem.
I'm a part of the problem, but you don't realize it. You don't realize it because you're having so much fun, and that was the thing. I'm like, I'm failing all my classes, and they're like, this school is the worst school academically, and I'm like, well, at least it ain't me. Like,
I'm part of the status quo.
Yo, so I mean, I don't know. Like, I had to go to that school for all 4 years, and I mean, I made do with it. I made some friends.
Okay.
I had a good experience. I didn't really get fucked with.
Okay.
So
shit, I mean, you're 6'5", man. So ain't a lot of people go fuck with somebody that's 6'5".
I think that, yeah, probably. I think that was probably it. They're like, we don't know. Because I didn't really fuck with people. Like, I wasn't one of those people that, like, walked around being a bully. I was like, I was chill.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, when a lot of people, when they think of Philly, they think of brotherly love. They think of the Phillies baseball team. They think of, I guess, Philadelphia International Gambling Hub, whatever. But a lot of people don't know that, you know, you guys have a rich history, you know, in comedy. You know what I'm saying? But,
yeah. We got even PA in general. Like, wait, finish your question. Sorry.
No. I was just about to you about to segue into what I'm about to ask next. The question I wanted to ask you, which was like, where did you get your inspiration from as far as comedy? Was it local? Was it abroad? You know, how did that whole, you know, what was your introduction to comedy?
My introduction to comedy definitely came through like the Def Comedy Jams and the BET and stuff like that. But I viewed it so differently. I viewed it as those people are actors that perfect, because you would see them doing stand-up, but then you would see them in a movie and stuff like that. So outsider looking in, I'm like, wow, like those people are special.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, they get to do this solo show because they're an actor, and I just thought it was all the part of acting. And growing up, when you hear acting, you think years of school and all that stuff. So I didn't never look at it as this obtainable thing. So when I was watching it more so from a fan's perspective. But I was funny. I had friends that were like, yo, man, you're funny as hell. You should do comedy. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that shit. It's like, that's like asking me to be a scientist. So I didn't know where to start. So I would just like, I was going to community college. I would do little acting classes here and there. But stand-up came from the thing that made me go, shit, stand-up is attainable. As when I seen somebody working their day job, like a comic who was on a TV show.
Right.
At his day job.
Okay.
Like he was on the back of a trash truck. And that made me go, holy shit, you can do both. It made me, you know what I mean? That made me go, holy shit, like I could do stand-up and have a regular job.
Okay.
You can be a regular person and do this thing. And then that's when I started going to open mics and stuff like that. And then my view of comedy changed from a spectator to like a participator. Probably like maybe like a full solid 2 years in, where I'm like, oh, I'm inspired by everyone in the Philly scene, because even if you suck, you're still going up there trying to attempt something. So I would watch comics and I would get inspired to be like, oh, well, this dude went up there and he killed it with a joke that he wrote yesterday. So let me try it. You know what I mean? So I think it made me, like, I developed an appreciation for comedians while doing it. Like, oh shit, this is the skill set that you really got to work on and off the stage.
Yeah.
So when I say the inspiration came from being in the scene.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because when you see people work, you're like, oh shit. I would see people go from open mic to hosting, or go from hosting to being doing a feature on another show.
Right.
And they're on another show with a bigger comic, and that comic is some dude I've seen from TV. So I'm seeing the path right in front of me. It's just like, oh shit, you start here, but it can lead you there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I just watch other comics take that leap, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm next up. It's not a next up thing. Not even a next up thing. It's more of like fuck it, I ain't afraid to jump. That's really what it is. It's like, if you see people jumping over the edge, you're like, if you jump, it depends on what the fuck is over that
edge. No, that's wild, man. So let's bring it back. You know, now you mentioned, like you said, you got your a lot of your inspiration from seeing guys locally. You know, what was it like? You know, your first time going up? Did you bomb? What was going through your mind as far as like adrenaline rushing and butterflies? Like how was that first time going up to the stage, man? Coming up on the mic.
I mean, now looking back, it'll probably be more poetic, but like in the moment, it probably wasn't. It was probably just all nerves and shit. But of course, yes, I bombed my first time. I didn't really get a solid laugh until 2 months in, where I'm like, I did a joke from thought to
explain that. Yeah, I was about to say, explain the solid laugh. Yeah, explain that.
Solid laugh. There's a laugh that you get. Like, there's a laugh where you make someone laugh, and then there's a laugh where they was going to give it up anyway because they're just in that mood, so they'll laugh at shit that really wasn't funny, or things that were just lobbing them. But when I said, the first time I actually made I feel like a joke is something that you present to somebody. You go, hey, look at this thing right here. This is different, and this is why. And I felt like the first time I was able to do that and bring people's attention to something, and then they went, oh shit, that motherfucker, that's funny. And it took 2 months for me to do that. And I think it was a stupid joke. The joke was about how rappers regressed to the point where I'm hearing Negro spirituals on the radio. Like, it was so long ago. That joke was like 2007. But I was talking about like the current state of music at that time, and I made a reference how it's setting us back, and then how basically we're gonna get to a point where we're just gonna have a plantation station or some shit like that, and it made the room laugh, and the room was oh, okay. I went, holy shit! Like, I celebrated that fucking moment. I was like, yo. But then what you end up doing is you end up like two things at a time. You end up protecting that joke, where you're like, fuck, I don't have anything funnier than that, so I'm gonna save it for like when I really need to bring it out. So I'll fly with what I think is funny. But then
I never heard that. I didn't know comedians protect certain jokes.
Yeah, starting off, you're like, okay, I got this joke on the hip, so I don't want to throw this joke out too soon because
it's my wild card.
It's my wild card.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, you start hiding it in the middle of your set, but then you start running to it. Let's say you got a 5-minute set, and you really only got 2 minutes, and then you run to your next joke. Y'all remember that other shit? Like, you start trying to tag it. Yeah. So I reached that point in 2 months. And when I reached that point, I started seeing other comedians kind of figure it out too. Like, yo, motherfucker, like, you heard that shit I said last week? So that got me excited, because I'm like, yeah, there's greats. They're like, don't forget, like, I started in the Laugh House. Kevin Hart is...
I was just about to mention Kevin Hart. He's from Philly.
Touré,
Right.
Keith Robinson. You got so many. I'm talking about the comics from Philly, but you got like I seen Michael Blackston's, I've seen Dion Cole's. Like I was seeing the best comics come through the comedy club, and like they're doing it on that level, and we're still on this level, but we're excited because we're like we're almost there. Even though we were years away from that, we're still like, all right, we're getting close because you form a tight enough set that'll get you to their shows.
Gotcha.
So once I was able to like make that, not make that jump, but make that transition from like doing open mics to being on weekend shows, to doing guest spots and hosting, I was like, this is a real thing. I gotta take this shit serious. Like this is a real life situation. This is more than a hobby at this point.
So when did you stop doing like explain like how does open mics work? Because to my knowledge, I always thought like open mics is something that amateur comedians or comedians that just starting, they only do open mics. Or can anybody do veteran comedians? Do they like expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, veteran comedians definitely. It depends on what mic it is and who's performing it. Like the Cellar does like a new joke night. Comedy Cellar in New York, they do like a new joke night, or the Stand Comedy Club do a new joke night, and those are professional shows for younger comedians, but open mics for more established comics, so they can come in low stakes situation. Meaning like there's no ticket sales involved. The audience already knows they're gonna hear some shit that is not worked out yet, and then that's how it goes. But for comics who haven't reached that level, you got to go to open mics. And open mics are for amateurs. They got comedy open mics, which are just a bunch of comics picking their name out of a hat and doing their best 3 to 5 minutes. And then there's music open mics and shit. So I started at the comedy open mics and the music open mics and the poetry open mics. Any spot that had a microphone, me and my friends, we were going, we was telling our little horse shit jokes because we were like, we got to get good at this thing. But once I stopped doing open mics, really when I would say in New York, when I moved to New York, and I started doing produced shows, meaning like shows that are like, that have paying audiences or just aren't full of comedians. I started doing more of those when I moved to New York, and that's when I had to get the open mic, because now I'm talking to actual audience members. Some open mics are just comics, just other performers, and you really can't perform for people who do the shit you do. They're not giving you an honest response. Okay.
So I always wanted to ask a comedian this, because I know you guys perform in different types of settings, different type of crowds, different nationalities, and how do you guys go about like when you're performing in front of like a different a crowd, when you're performing in different type of crowds, do you have like a certain type of material for that crowd, or do you just sometimes go off the top of the head? Like, how does that work?
Nah, not me, man. I feel like in order to know it works, you got to make sure it works with everybody without changing the recipe, right? That's at least my understanding. Those are the comics that I grew up on and I enjoy watching, were the ones who could make a room full of people who look like them and don't look like them laugh at the same shit. So I try. I'm trying to think about it. Yeah, like depending on a room, like even if I do like, let's say an urban room or whatever, I'm not hamming it up. Like I'm telling the same exact jokes that I did for any other audience the same exact way. Because I feel like that's how you know if you're funny. If you're making one specific group of people laugh, I'm like, you funny, but there's the rest of the fucking world. You know what I mean? There's the rest of the world. Like I just performed in Africa. And that's, to me, I'm like, yeah, that's a bunch of, it's black, but I didn't know if they were going to understand me, but they did. And they got the shit that I was talking about, because I'm more like, I'm personal. Like I talk about my personal life. So you don't need much knowledge to understand what's going on. It's just like, this is me, my life. Here's the things that's going on in my life and the way I see things. So I feel like that's an easier transition. That's an easier thing to do when you're trying to talk to everyone or at least talk to a broader audience, you're like, all right, if I go within, I know a lot of other people will enjoy this shit too, because we all feel similar shit. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Now, being from Philly, what made you go down this this certain lane? Like, how did you decide, I'm gonna be this type of comedian? Because a lot of times, I notice guys that come from urban areas, we, especially, I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, black people, we try to pigeonhole, certain people that come from our area. Like, we only see comedy through this certain type of lens, and I feel like sometimes we don't allow comedians to fully express themselves. We want to stereotype them. So, make a long story short, what made you decide this is the type of lane of comedy that you want to decide to to give to the people?
Well, I would say other comedians definitely helped me out with that. Meaning, like, I started in the urban scene, and I still think there's great comics no matter what scene you go in and stuff like that. I think maybe the audience is just, I think it's just like an audience thing. Sometimes your audience may be a little rowdy or whatever, but starting at the Laugh House, I also got to talk to other comics who would be like, yeah, I see you here. I see you doing this, but make sure you go here too. Like, they would say shit like that. They were like, yeah, I see you at the Laugh House, but make sure you go to Helium. Or make sure that you go try these other rooms. Like, they were pushing me and a couple of the other comics out, going, hey, right, don't get comfortable here. Go out. Like, we got this already. Like, because I looked at it as a thing where they're like, look, you young, you funny, fucking figure it out. Like, but just don't come here. And I think that's like something I'm grateful for, because it was like me and a couple other comics who I'm super cool with. They were best friends. We all live in New York because of that. Because the same comics were like, get the fuck out of here, go to New York, be around, be in the scene. And they were right. Like, the moment you get to New York and you step outside of your comfort zone, the city opens up, and you realize you can go anywhere you want. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I have to. That's comics. That's all comedians before me telling me to get the fuck out.
Okay. So when did you realize, like, this comedy shit, this is something I'm pretty much, I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like, this is something, like, whatever job or career that I had before, that's over with. This is what I want to do. When did you, because what did you do prior to being a comedian?
That was like, I want to say like 2 years in. Once I made that transition from open mic to like being paid as a host at the Laugh House, I was like, I think I can do this on a regular basis. It was just learning how to string shows together. But I never really had like a professional job, so that also helped too. Like, I went to community college. I had jobs at AmeriCorps and all that stuff. I even worked at the zoo.
Hold on. Time out. Yo, you didn't say America. You talking about the man, that's AmeriCorps. Like a multi-level marketing.
No. I'm talking about the AmeriCorps joint. They're like a non-profit organization that goes out and they help schools.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought you was talking about like, yeah, my bad. Like one of the multi-level, like them pyramid scheme type.
Oh, fuck no. Nah.
Yeah, I bring in one person, and you got to bring in like five other people.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that shit. Nah, I was working at AmeriCorps at this joint called City Year.
My bad.
Basically, where you work in the schools. You work in the schools with kids, and you like tutor them and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was doing that, but I really wasn't good at it. But I would like have good relationships with the kids and the staff there, and a lot of them were just like, man, you need to figure out how to do with that shit full time. And that's like that everything just kept pushing me to comedy. Like, every job I had, they were like, yeah, man, we like having you here, but go do that. Go get the fuck out of here. Like, I promise you, everybody was like, do that. Go figure that out. And I'm glad they did. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, man. Always define, the way I look at life. and how I define success is doing something that you love and being able to, capitalize off that, being able to, make a living off that. So in my eyes, man, you successful. You know what I'm saying? You doing what you love to do, and you're getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. No, I love this shit, man. Like I said, this is the best decision I made. It's taken me places that I never knew I could actually go. Right. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned, like Africa, I performed in China. I've been to fucking performed in Mexico and stuff like that. Like I've been to like different places because of comedy, doing what I do. Like I haven't changed the joke. I haven't like tried to make it fit a certain demographic. I went as me, and I'm like, this is the only place I can go and be myself.
No doubt.
I don't know any other job that'll pay me to be like, yeah, do that goofy shit.
So I want to ask you this, like, if a young comedian came up to you and he wanted to get into comedy, or she wanted to get into comedy, what was some of the type of advice you would give them?
Man, I tell them it's a couple of things, I guess, but the first thing is you can't be afraid of failure. You gotta treat this shit like riding a bike. It's like you only get good at riding a bike when you're not afraid to scrape your knees and fuck up your elbows, right? And that's the same thing with this business, where some of the best shows are the ones that are going to be out of your comfort zone, and you got to be open to doing all of that shit, and you got to be cool with failing. You know what I mean? Like I want to say, going from open mics and trying things at open mics to hosting at a comedy club, there's a lot of steps in between that. There's a lot of relationships and places you have to be to even make sure that material is good enough for the comedy club to trust. So I'm saying, once you get in the comedy, be open to the world that you've been exposed to. So travel. Like there's comics who do it and won't get on the bus or get on the plane or whatever to go do it across country. And it's just like, nah, fuck that. That's why you got into it, because you're like, I want to make people laugh. People need laughter everywhere. Exactly. So you got to be open to like leaving, and there's going to be a lot of lonely time by yourself. You got to be comfortable with that. You got to learn how to be productive within those times. And I guess the biggest thing I always, like, me and my friends will all be like, gotta shoot your shot. Like, we're not afraid to do shit. Like, I love my group of friends, because we'll maybe like ask each other, check with each other, yo, I'm thinking about doing this. And we're like, all right, nigga, shoot your shot. It's just like, fucking do it, because that's the only way to know if it works or not. So I'm saying, like, always be willing to shoot your shot, talk your shit, and don't be afraid of anything.
No doubt. So look, so the state of comedy has vastly changed past 20 years, man. I've seen a lot of people want to, they want to frame comedy in this whole they want to see it through this whole politically correct lens, and I like that we still have comics like you who still tell it like it is, because I always felt like comedians they're like the architects as far as like being able to say a lot of things that a lot of us normal, regular folk just are afraid to say. You guys are purveyors of that. You guys are still allowed to say a lot of things and not catch a lot of backlash. But it seemed like today, now people are coming at comedians. So what's your whole take on the state of comedy today, man?
I love it, man. It's an occupational hazard. Like, you're going to say some shit that isn't going to sit right with a certain group of people. Now, the pressure also, like, the people going to do what they're going to do. They're going to get mad. They're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about you. But that's a part of what we do. We put ourselves out there for ridicule and that speculation, and we put our thoughts out there. And once it's out there, I don't got to defend it no more. So I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I'm like, I know my intentions are never to make a group of people feel bad, to demonize people, or nothing I do comes out of malice. It's always from a place of trying to understand it, and also going, this shit is funny though. Like, it's fucked up, but it's funny. And then after I do that, however it's interpreted, it's on them. Like they do that, and my goal is just to kind of sit back and not let it affect the shit that's going on inside of me, because I still have to produce shit. I still have to speak my mind and stuff like that. So I feel like it's good right now for comedy. It's like the people who have something to say aren't afraid of that shit. The people who have something to say, we're just going, okay, all right, well, they're mad at this, but maybe I can make them look at it this way, or maybe because they're not seeing it this way. You can never let an audience stop you from like just showing your view. You can't.
Right.
So to me, like I've been in that, and it's not new. Like I feel like when I really started doing comedy, I came up under that shit. Where you go to certain places, you say shit, and people are like, what? But it's never as bad as it is in person than it is online.
And that's what I want to talk about. Go ahead.
I said shit online that I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And then I say it on stage, and the audience is like, ah, and I'm like, oh, okay. Online, some people act like they're supposed to be this certain thing. So they're like, hey, maybe I should speak up because I think this is wrong, and let me see. I look at it as some of these niggas just want friends. So a lot of these people aren't angry. They just want something to talk about. They don't have like a group of friends on their own.
Right.
So they're like, hey, internet, my friend, let's interact with each other. And I'm like, as an entertainer and a comic, my only job is to speak my mind and give people shit to talk about. So if they're not talking about your bits, then I feel like,
no doubt. Nah, I feel you. I feel you.
If you're saying something that is funny, like at the end of the day, if there's a bit that they go, you're wrong for saying this, and then the whole world sees it, and the whole world sees an audience and people laugh, we go, but these people thought it was funny, so they achieved their fucking goal.
There you go. So you haven't found yourself having to backpedal, some Twitter comments.
Nah,
they came at your boy, fellow Philly native Kevin Hart. They coming at Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
They coming at it seemed like every other week the woke mob, and I hate to do the air quotes, man.
Anyone that woke is racist. That's
come on.
I bet you all of these black accounts are actually white accounts. I bet you all these black Twitter accounts, they white people.
I wouldn't be surprised. But you saying something that's very profound. How a lot of times you see this crap on Twitter, but when you go out in public, with the people, it's a totally different response. And it's like I was just talking to my girlfriend. We was talking, how we talk about it's the loud minority. A lot of times it's a loud minority. But when you see this crap on Twitter, you think this is how everybody view things.
Mm-hmm.
So touch on that a little bit, man.
Well, for me, it's just that you don't ever see it, right? So like, I've rarely been to a place where the online hatred spilled over into real life. You know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody ever rush up on the stage try to get at you like they did Dave Chappelle. I mean, yeah, but for other shit. That's just because they were drunk. Like that happens. That's just the weekend. I guarantee you, right now, there's a guy on stage who has to fight off someone else from coming on the stage. That happens. It's not like Chris Rock and him. It like happens all the time.
Right.
Nothing new. Sometimes you just gotta be like, get the fuck off of here. Like sometimes you gotta like be like, yo, get off the stage, or just the security will come and get that person. But I'm in New York. Most of the comics who are on TV are also in New York. Circles are small and shit like that. So like if you're at a club with somebody who's canceled online and you don't see a mob of people trying to get that club canceled, you see a line of people waiting to see that person. You go, something off. These people
but I don't remember. But
you're going, something's off. If
I don't remember this.
But are mad, and then there's a line of people going to see the show, something doesn't make sense.
But I'm saying, but Monroe, I don't remember this, man. Like, me and you are around the same age, man. I don't remember seeing people try to cancel comics, and I don't remember people trying to, shut down comedy clubs. Like recently, what did you add up?
It was harder to do. Like, you had to write letters, you had to get it printed in the newspapers.
Okay.
Shit. Like, now it's an email, it's a tweet. Like, if you wanted to protest back in the day, you had to write a piece to go into the editorial in the newspaper, hope people read it, and then fucking synchronize their watches and So yes, like back then it took a lot. Like, people had to be really mad to organize, because I'm writing letters, I'm making phone calls, I'm calling house phones. You ain't got the internet. It's 250 characters.
You can just galvanize people through words, 150 characters.
You know how easy it is to get people on the street just out? It's a Pokemon Go for years. Grown ass people out the street fucking catching Pokemon in the parks, and they started groups, and so people will gather for anything. You get what I'm saying? Like, people will just come together because they're lonely most of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, it's easier now than it was back then.
So long story short, a lot of this shit hasn't really affected you. It hasn't, it hasn't made you adjust how you deliver your,
No, because it can't really affect the stand-up comic unless they have a job. Like, I don't have a job. I'm not on the show. I don't write for anything. I'm all stand-up, so I don't have to speak for anything. Usually, like, if you're on the show, the network is borrowing your image.
Your likeness.
Your likeness.
Yeah, right.
So you represent them,
right?
So when people are protesting you, they're probably protesting the show, which fucking up a lot of other people's money. So that's when you hear apologies and shit. But most comics, that shit works for them. Because if there's a group of people online going, this person should be canceled, then what it's doing is making other people look and go, let me see what the fuck they're talking about. Now they're fans. They're creating fans. So it really only helps stand-up. If you get canceled, I feel like as a stand-up comic, unless it's for like some sexual shit, like you're doing shit to like women or just people in general,
right?
Like, you getting canceled for words and jokes, that just makes you more famous.
Yeah, it's almost like the guy at work that's sleeping around with a bunch of chicks, but so you got half the chicks hate him, but then the other half of the chicks, they want to see
what. Yo, what the fuck that dick do? They're like, Karen and Beth are going crazy over this shit.
I want to see I'm curious. What's going on?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So they think that they're harming these people's careers, and sometimes they're causing people to not work in the public eye, like on television and movies, which is how you like reach a bigger population. But they're also helping them cultivate their audience, because now you get a bunch of people who are like, I don't think what you said was that bad, and I think you're pretty funny. And now they're team you because everybody was like, you're wrong.
I think a lot of people want comics to continue to be as authentic, because we always look at, like I said earlier, we always look for comedians to say a lot of the things that a lot of us are afraid to say. You guys can speak about the ills of society. You guys can speak, just speak of a lot when it comes to the status quo of how things how things look, in current state or whatever. So I always feel like, in my opinion, and just looking around and talking to friends of mine, we want comics to continue to be authentic, man. Don't change what you guys are doing, man. Just continue to be yourselves, man.
Yeah, man, I'll have no choice. Like, I don't know what else to do. I'm like, I don't know. I'm too late now to go.
Too late in the game.
Too late in the game. But we'll do that, man. People don't understand that comics do more than just stand up. They write commercials. They
right.
you know what I mean? They work on all different types of shows, even shows that have nothing to do with comedy. Sometimes they bring in a comedy writer just to make like someone's monologue or dialogue pop a little bit more. So people don't think about that is when they attack comedy, they're attacking like a whole art form that's used in other mediums.
No doubt. Now you mentioned comedians being tied to different networks. Now, have you been approached, with any type of deal, any situation like that?
I mean, that's not really how it works. It's I've worked with different networks and stuff like that, and I still have the opportunity to work with them if I bring them something. That's really at least out inside looking around. It's like if you're doing your thing and you're creating and you like bring it to people, it's like, and you keep nailing away, that's how shit gets made. It's not like they really are going around like, hey, you, we want you. It's just like, hey, who got good shit? You know what I mean? And that's really what the game is, at least from my perspective. It's just like, you gotta come with it, because there's people pitching shows all the time and stand-up specials and all that stuff, and it's just like you gotta cultivate your relationships and you gotta just keep chipping away until there's something that sticks.
No doubt. Now today, with social media, you have a lot of I hate to call them this, but I don't know what else to really call them, man. Social media, internet comedians, man. So what's your whole take on that? Do you feel like they have infiltrated the comedy game? Are they taking away, a lot of you guys' audience? Like, what's your whole take on the, guys like Country Wayne and man, he's the biggest one right now, but it's a couple of other ones I can't think of on the top of my head. And I actually like Country Wayne, by the way, as a person.
Yeah.
It's comedy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of his comedy.
Yeah.
But what's your take? What's your whole take?
I've never watched it, but I wouldn't even comment really and be like, because I'm not that type of person that's gonna be like, that shit whack or this ain't this or whatever. Like, I don't have that abundant mindset. Like, I'm very much like, there's a million people in this shit, right?
Now you do know it. You do know it exists though, right?
No. I'm saying it does, but I don't have that mindset of like, it's taking away. They're just finding an audience. Like they're finding an audience on their own. You know what I mean? Like, I've been to shows where people have come to my shows and be like, yo, I just got done seeing such and such. I love them, and I'm also a fan of yours too. So I never been like, they got all these people, there's no people for me. It's like, motherfuckers eat multiple brands of cereal. They wear different brands of shoes. You can have variety in the comics you like. And also, we don't do the same thing. So that just makes me feel a lot more comfortable, because I'm like, we're not doing the same shit. We're not going up there talking about the same thing. We're not even attempting to connect to the audience in the same way. So for me, I don't see none of that shit as a competition or a threat, because I'm like, I'm trying to write my best. I'm still trying to make some shit that stick and that represents me the best, and something I can sit back and look at and be like, yo, I did that. Right. And I can't do that while also looking at other people and going, what they doing? What that nigga up to?
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I really only say that because I got like a good circle around me, and we don't do that shit. We kind of just like, yeah, there's people who stink, but we're not, like, we don't even care. We're like, yo, what you working on? I seen that joke you was doing on stage, yo. Maybe you should try this. Like, that's like who I'm around.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. Like, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, how do you go about, putting together material? And also talk to me about, like, how hard is it to make sure that the material is fresh, man? Like, I know that's a loaded question, man. So you can start whatever, whatever question that you want to start with.
Man, for me, usually it's this shit that like I'll see, like, it's just about things that you see and you'll go, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's different. And then your mind starts to go, but what's different about it? What what would be better in that situation? And then that's when the thought and the joke starts to form. And
you start writing immediately or what? Like,
no, I say it on stage first, and then if it's funny or not funny, but if it's interesting enough, and the audience goes, like that's when you gotta look at people. And when you look at somebody, like people tell you, they'll let you know if the shit is interesting, because it don't always gotta be funny. It just gotta be interesting. If you say something interesting, they'll sit with it long enough to find out what the fuck is funny about it.
Yeah.
So I try to always bring up things on stage that interest me and see if they're interesting or not. And if they are, I'll write it down, I'll listen to it again, and then I'll start to try to really form the joke. Because at least for me, like writing first and then going on stage, those are two different voices. Like your writing voice is this, usually the voice in my head when I write always thinks it's saying it the right way. Like when I'm writing it down, my brain is like, yeah, and I'm gonna say this and write it like that, and maybe I'll do it like this. Well, when I bring the thought right to the audience goes, oh, okay, I wanna know more. And now I get to really explain what the fuck I'm trying to talk about and make funny. So for me, I have to bring it on stage first, which sucks, because sometimes the show will be hot, right? There'll be a hot show, everybody go up there and kill, and then I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they like, what? And I'm like, all right, fuck it. We gonna figure this shit out.
That's the genius of Monroe Martin, man. That's the genius of you, brother. That's why I love watching you do your thing, man. So
thank you, man.
What I want to touch on some current events, man. I'm not gonna hold you too much longer, but we gotta talk about this one because they've been in the news, man. And you probably can predict what I'm about to say. And I want to talk about the Will Smith and the Chris Rock slapping,
man, that shit was sad. That shit let me down, man.
So I mean, has that changed the way just a little bit the way that you deliver your jokes, or what's your take on that whole incident?
I thought it was fake, honestly. From the jump, I was like, this don't make no sense. It's the biggest night on network television that they would never let something like that happen. They're definitely looking for some sort of like viewer spike. That was my my first thought. Because I'm like, I watch wrestling too, so you can't convince me that somebody hit somebody. But I'm like, yo, I know what fucking pulling the punch looks like, or pulling the hit. Like, I'm a wrestling fan. So when I watched it, I was like, man, that's fake. I thought it was a bot sketch. Like maybe it was like one of those things that was supposed to like, you know how like the Oscars, they do skits with the audience.
Right.
And they'll be like, we were just fucking around. Like I felt like it was one of those moments where Will Smith forgot to go, I was just being an asshole. Like I was just joking.
right.
Never happened. And I was like, holy shit, okay, maybe it wasn't that. But now I look at it and I go, that's wrong. I definitely would have sued because the joke wasn't even that bad. Like
now let's rewind before you finish your thought, because I want you to finish your thought. But I just want to rewind for a second. Like, when did you realize that it was real?
I think I realized it was real like after, like you see like Chris Rock, like in New York, you see Chris Rock. He comes to the comedy club, he hangs out and shit like that. But you see him going on stage, and like Kevin Hart and them are also on stage, and they talk about it, and you kind of see it in his face, like, oh shit, that really happened. Like that's not fake. Like when you see them like kind of like talk about it, but not really talk about it on stage, but you see it like when you're in the audience and you get to see it, you go like, oh shit, okay, maybe that situation really happened and it's not like some Hollywood shit. But after I kind of been like, okay, it could be real, I then started to go, well, then Will Smith was wrong, like all the way through the situation, because it's just like, regardless if he said a joke that didn't sit right with you, his job is to present a reward, make fun of the people in attendance, and keep it moving. So he did his job all the way through. And somebody, in the way comedy works, is someone is going to be the butt of the joke, regardless if they're in the room or not. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So for Will, and especially like I don't know. It was just weird because Will Smith has a show where he's featuring stand-up comedians in Vegas.
And he's a fellow Philly native as well.
Yeah, Philly dude. Also, like, he had the whole documentary thing on Instagram about wanting to do stand-up comedy. So I would have thought that he already knew how the game was played. You get what I'm saying?
But it's the thing, the thing that stood out about me. I mean, the thing that stood out about it to me. I noticed that he laughed. Like after he heard the joke, he laughed.
Yeah.
So obviously he wasn't that offended until Jada gave him whatever type of look that she gave him, and then he reacted. So to my point, man, like you thought it was funny, brother. Like, come on, man.
That's why he's wrong.
Somebody has to be the butt of the joke.
That's why he's wrong. Somebody has to be the butt of the joke. And I don't know, like, no one's ever made, like, actually, yeah, like, I've been places, like, I have friends, we'll poke fun at each other. People have said things in front of me or my wife or whatever, and I'm like, all right, but I'm not gonna smack them in their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're adults at this point. Like, there are men with a lot to lose, and they can't be acting like, well, I'm saying they, like, Chris did nothing. He did nothing wrong.
Now what? Now
nothing wrong.
If that was you, if the roles were reversed and that was Monroe Martin III, and Will Smith went up the stage and smacked you, what would you have done?
I'm suing that motherfucker. You don't understand. Suing? What? A lot of people make money in this country by suing each other. And Will Smith, the right person. What? You know what I mean? It's like getting smacked by Oprah.
Yeah, man.
It's like getting smacked. If Will Smith smacked me, it'll literally be like being smacked by Genie. Because I'm asking for the bank. I'm like, all right, wish number one, motherfucker.
Nah, man. I feel you. Hey, bro, I feel you, man. I think Chris Rock took it like a G, though.
Yeah. Chris Rock got money, that's why. Will Smith knew to smack another millionaire.
Another millionaire.
A thousandaire. If Will Smith smacked somebody who don't make $1 million, they just make a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
They're like, thank you for the invitation to the club.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. I'll see you at the Rock Nation brunch.
Yes. Yo.
No, I had to speak on that, man, because that story has grown legs, and it is took on a whole life of its own.
It's still going on. Like, I haven't really in the comedy scene, at least in the people I'm around, like, no one's
Chris Will finally apologized. I think
2
like
months later.
I know he finally apologized, man. He finally and I'm gonna be honest, man. The apology looked staged. It looked choreographed. He got 3 different camera angles.
Yeah.
And I mean, you take a look at it. He did it on YouTube,
How many
man.
angles you need to say I'm sorry? Chris,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
for smacking the shit out.
Yeah, man. I'm like, come on, bro. You're doing a little bit too much, man. I get it. You wanna put out a statement, but I feel like there's a certain way you should go about it, man. But.
Damn, man, I'll probably check it out. That's funny. Like he got full production for an apology.
Yeah, man, it's wild, man. It's wild.
They're probably so rich. They probably making so much money. His production crew, they're like, Will's making a cup of coffee again. We need 3 camera coverage on this one.
Well, Chris said he's not ready. He said he's not ready to he's not ready to sit down with Will and hash things out. But they said the brother Chris Rock's his comedy shows have went through the roof lately.
Oh yeah,
them ticket prices.
Them ticket prices dropped down. Chris probably got, because Chris is single, so he probably got a flow of money coming through from the tour. He probably getting a ton of sympathy pussy. So why would I not sit down? I'm not sitting down. Get the fuck out of here. Let me fuck these bitches first.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Chris is definitely like, you handle your shit. I'm gonna get this money. And
he's
vagina.
Yeah, he's Diddy 2.0 right now.
Absolutely, hell yeah.
That's wild, man. Hey, did you hear about earlier today, man? I said we're gonna talk. I don't want to bring down the, I want to bring the show down, but it's something tragic happened today with the the WNBA basketball player Brittany Griner. Russia just sentenced her to 9 years, man. What's your whole take on that, man? What's your whole take on that?
I mean, I don't think I really have one just yet.
I mean, you got some jokes, so
no, I'm laughing.
Hold on.
To go to jail
hold on.
Is hilarious.
Let me say this. I hate people say, Malak, you're always cutting the guests off, but I got it. Let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
First of all, it's my show, so I can stop the show whenever I want to. But two, no. I just want to say, is there anything that you would not touch? Like certain things, certain things you won't touch. As far as talking.
No, it just takes time. I just gotta find a way. I gotta find something that's interesting to me about it. I'll talk about anything, but I just have to come at it from a genuine, authentic point of view.
Gotcha.
That way I'm not saying, you know who Patrice O'Neal is? You ever heard
the
of
GOAT? The GOAT.
He said this one thing before he's like the comedy god.
It's the GOAT.
But he said this one thing, and he said about being frivolous. And the way I took it was, don't say shit that you're not attached to. Because there's always going to be that follow-up. Someone's going to test something. So you need to be able to be like, I stand behind this because here's what's interesting.
10 toes down.
10 toes down. And I never want to put myself in that position. But yeah, I think for me, I don't know much about the situation except she went to jail for a vape pen, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll
5 grams. Yeah,
5 fucking grams.
5 grams, 9 years, man. But the crazy thing about it,
can she at least use the vape pen in the jail? Can I at least? That's why women's sports should be celebrated a little bit more so they can afford better attorneys. Because it feels like that's really who lost. It's had nothing to do with Brittany. If she had a public defender or a WNBA level lawyer,
man,
she had whoever the fuck.
They got their ass kicked. They got their ass kicked in the courtroom.
Yeah, she needs a rape allegations lawyer, somebody who deals with fucking.
man, I hate. That's what I said, man. I don't want to bring down the show, man. No, but man. I mean, it's.
I hope her family is good, and I hope that
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It was tragic, man. I was surprised, man. I saw it. They said 9 years, man. A buddy of mine at work told me. I said, man, there's no way. I said, are they? Is that something that they it's finalized?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said no. This is it. 9 years. Final sentence.
What if Russian prisons are easy as shit to escape out of? You know what I mean? What if it's so fucking easy? What if she gets there again? You know what I mean?
But a lot of people say, I've heard this. I don't know if you heard this. People say, well, if that was LeBron James, she would have been home.
Yeah, because LeBron James runs multiple companies. It ain't even about LeBron being a fucking great athlete. He has a production company where he makes TV shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He runs a school. He has charities. You're not just taking a basketball player. You're taking a fucking a piece that helps the whole system move.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't know anything about Brittany. I don't know any foundations. But she got a school. If she had a school, if Brittany had a school.
The Brittany Griner school, man.
If Brittany had a school or a production company, she'd be home right now.
Yeah, man. It's fucked up, man. I don't know what to say. I know a lot of people are talking about, we should go and get her. I'm like,
go and get her.
Yeah, we not about to go to war over no basketball player, man. There's 2 countries that the United States know not to fuck with. Russia in China.
Yo, for real. And even like when I was on my recent flight, we had to fly around Russia because American planes aren't allowed into like Russian
Exactly.
airports.
Yeah.
So
no fly zone.
Who the fuck is this we? How are these motherfuckers getting to Russia?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like right now Britney's like Princess Peach. Like they're just waiting for some motherfucker to come save her. They're like, you really want her ass?
Yeah.
Come get her.
I say the same thing.
That'd be a great movie, right? Like,
yeah.
That'd be a great movie.
Saving Brittany Griner.
Yeah, Brittany Griner. Sorry. Like maybe, I don't know.
Like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, maybe they challenge the Russian female basketball squad to a basketball game. They steal around. I don't know. This sounds like a good movie idea.
Yeah, man. That's maybe Steven Spielberg, man. You can put that together, man.
Something like get him to the Greek, but with Brittany Griner.
Yo, you stupid.
Remember that movie?
I love that movie, man.
But with Brittany, get her ass back home.
Get her back home, man. That's crazy, man. So look, brother, it's been a pleasure, man, having you on the platform. I told you, man, I'm trying not to keep you on here long, man, but
1 hour later.
What?
I ain't gonna hold you long, man. An hour and 8 minutes later.
Why you gotta put me on the spot, man? Why you gotta put me on the spot? See, I can't even. I'm not even gonna edit that. I'm gonna let that stay in there. Man. I want everybody to see this, man. But nah, brother, man, it's truly an honor, man, to really finally be able to chop it up with you, man. And I love what you got going on, man. I love your material, man. I love your whole, your whole shtick, man. I love it, man. From everything, man. I love seeing you on these networks, man. And I just wish many great blessings to you, man. I know skies is the limit. And thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. You keep doing what you're doing, man.
No doubt. Now, you got any before we get out of here, where are you performing next, and where can folks find you, like on social media?
When is this coming out?
Say it again.
When is this episode coming out?
Oh, I'm about to drop this. This is gonna be dropping Saturday.
Okay, so
matter of fact,
20th,
Sunday.
So the 19th and the 20th, I'm in Milwaukee. And then if you want to get updated on any of my shows, go to MonroeMartinComedy.com or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which is Monroe Martin III or Monroe Martin Comedy.
No doubt, yeah. Man. Well, look, we got the one and only Monroe Martin, man. Had to stop by and bless the Bridging the Generation podcast, man. Thank you again, brother, man. You got any final words before we get up out of here?
No, man. I would say thank you for having me on, and I look forward to hearing this episode.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Well, thank you again, brother. God bless you, and you take care, man.
You too, man.
All right.